And you can see Yoruba Muslim kick as Makinde appoint on my screen. Let's read along. Yet another radical Christian Pentecostal. Yoruba Muslims under the aegis of Yoruba Muslims for Freedom has condemned Makinde's Christianization agenda. In a press release made available to newsmen, the spokesman of YMF, which is Yoruba Muslim Freedom, Mr. Latifu, uncovered the agenda of replacing all Muslim Yoruba monarchs with RCCG Pentecostal Christians. The spokesman gave a list of 25 monarchs to show the trend. He said the last 25 Muslims that died on throne were all replaced by RCCG radical Christians. Well, welcome. Ẹ máa ńlẹ́ o, ẹ̀yin ará ìlú mi, ẹ̀yin ará Ọ̀yọ́ o, ẹ̀lẹ́ káàárọ̀ o, àsìkò oríire. Congratulations to my Ọ̀yọ́ fellow indigents. I mean, we just heard that the new Aláàfin of Ọ̀yọ́, which of course is arguably the most influential and the most powerful king in the Oduduwa Republic, or in the Oduduwa world, as it were. But there has been recent development, as we can see, that some elements calling themselves Islamic fundamentalists, or should I say Islam first before Yoruba, have come out, sitting on the premise that the Christians have done everything possible using the influence of Sheyi Makinde, which of course is a Christian, to depose the previous Lukman Badigeshi of his rightful seat. What we can see from what is going on is from the 5 kingmakers, 99% of them are all Muslims, and then they chose Badigeshi to succeed Ikuba, the last man who was on that throne for over 50 something years. Now they have been pushing this Islamic ideology, and I mean, for a way to strike a balance, you know, anything that has to do with kingship, you put away the Western religion. This religion that they brought from the West and the East, which of course is Christianity and Islam, met the traditional religion and our traditional rights, okay? And why there has been so many debate about the imposition of Badigeshi was because Badigeshi wasn't supposed to be the rightful successor of Oba Ikubawaye II. So these are the conversations today, wherein some elements have been issuing threat. In fact, they are saying that the Christians in Oyo now are deceiving the Oyo Muslim by adopting Muslim names to confuse them. You can imagine I can't just fathom how the Yoruba decency has been denigrated, wherein some elements in the capital city of the Yoruba nation, all they now talk about is Muslim Islam. I mean, was it not just some days ago they were hell-bent on pushing Sharia to be implemented in the Ibarapa, Shaki, Senyi. These are they call this place the Oyo North Senatorial District because they share border lines. Okay? They share border lines with Ilorin down to Benin North, okay, northern Benin towards northern Nigeria. All right, so these guys cannot believe. They want to start pushing religious crisis. They have bought into the ideology that the Fulani sold to their forefathers. I'm from Oyo Shaki. Shaki Omo Shaki ni mi ogbo oroke agbede oro papa. I concede that majority of Shakites, as we are fondly called, are Muslims now. If you go back into the history, Shaki used to be a citadel of baptism. The first schools that were established in Oyo State, most of them after from Ibadan, was in Shaki, saying where you have the Baptist high schools, and these schools were so, they were so critical for the educational development and advancement of Oyo State, of Ibadan in general, whereby in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, Oyo was one of the leading states when it comes to education. But when they started adopting this ideology of the Fulanis, the ideology Alimi sold to Afoja, okay, because these territories were all the territories Afoja controlled in his days. These are, in the early 1800s. These territories of mine where I lived, Shaki is saying. But unfortunately, those are some parts that the Oyo people were able to recover from the Ilorin then. Now, ever since they bought into that ideology, right, they started shutting down those Baptist high schools. They stopped paying attention, stopped catering, stopped renovating, stopped spending money. All the monies that were supposed to be used to pay for teachers was diverted into Quranic schools. We are now having more Quranic schools in my hometown than you having Western schools, which I mean secondary schools, basic education schools. This is where we are in that level, in that state. So they are so bitter. They are highly bitter that they are now, these Muslims or your fundamentalists, these or your Muslim fundamentalists, they call themselves, Islamias. They even call themselves descendants of Uthman dan Fodios. These are happy slaves. These are people who are happily sold their own ancestral right for a man who invaded and stole their culture, gave them a religion. From far away east in Arabia. They are now saying, blaming the Yoruba conservatives, those who want things to go right. The same Yoruba conservatives that came out the last time that I was shouting that we do not want a Sharia state in Oyo. If Oyo ever get captures with the Sharia, principles, it is a matter of time that Lagos State will be covered. What's the distance of Oyo to Lagos State? What's the distance of Oyo into Ogun State? Because the Muslims, the Yoruba Muslims who have been sold out, are now accusing the Yoruba conservatives that they are now supporting the Christian that was elected by Seyi Makinde, who is a Christian. That these people are not really Yoruba conservatives. They are just against Yoruba Muslims, which is a blatant lie. The Yoruba conservatives have been seen fighting the Christians fanatics, the Yoruba Christian fanatics who go out attacking the Yoruba traditional worshippers. The Yoruba conservatives have always been seen doing the same thing that they do against the Muslim fundamentalists. They do the same thing against the Christian fundamentalists. So this has nothing to do with religion. It is all about bringing balance. It is all about restoring the culture. Restoring the culture of the Yoruba heritage. It is all about installing the pride. These are the issues. Okay, these are the issues. But they will try to do everything in their own in their own capacity to bring that divide and rule. They are trying to instigate the Muslims in Shaki. This current guy that was just nominated and elected by Seyi Makinde is Abimbola Owode, who is a Christian and is from Shaki. He's just like a person like me. I used to be a Muslim, then I converted. Now, Oade Abimbola Akim. Can you hear that word? Akim. Akim, Christians don't bear Akim. But there are so many families in Shaki whereby, right from tender age, they probably bear their Muslim names. But when they grow up, they converted, they became Christians. So they are now, you see this Muslim chronic Yoruba guys who would rather trade their fellow Yoruba guy for Muslim, for Islam. You know what they are now doing now? They are now going into the tweets of this young man who has just been elected. The very moment he converted to Christians, his affirmation words, his statements, all right, his statements about him accepting the Lord Jesus Christ as his personal Lord and Savior, they are now stating that he is a Christian fundamentalist that is going to come and Christianize Oyo. You know, they're just, they are so comfortable that a Muslim should continue to be the Alaafin of Oyo in perpetuity. The last Alaafin was a Muslim. The last Alaafin before the last Alaafin was equally a Muslim. And the Christians have never for once come out to maybe antagonize, to maybe show a level of grievance based on religious basis. Their own argument has always been, let us do the right thing. The Kuba Bayeye, who got coronated in 1970, had some influence of the government in it. The government influenced his coronation. So they are not even really fighting that. Why will Sheikh Tinubu bypass the Oyomesi rituals? They are not. They are just fighting against the fact that the new guy who has just been anointed by Sheikh Makinde is a Christian. That is their own problem. That is their own problem. They just want a situation whereby it is a Muslim that keeps retaining that seat, and afterwards it doesn't matter if he even fulfills all the traditional rites. It doesn't concern them, provided that he's a Muslim. They see that he's doing his salat, they are fine. For their information to all my fellow Oyo people, Oyo is not a Muslim state. Oyo will continue to be a secular state that is what? Polytheist. That means we have multiple religions, Christians, Muslims, traditional, and none of them will ever lose their voice. You know, their plan was that Sharia court they wanted to inaugurate, which has been postponed, indefinitely. Their prayer was, let this guy eventually get recognized by the governor. They took the guy's case to court, by the way, all these Muslim fundamentalists, because when the governor saw what went on with the Oyomesi, let me mention the names of the Oyomesi for you. The Oyomesis are Yusuf, can you hear? Yusuf Bash Onwo of Oyo, Wakilu, you can hear? Amzat, Wahab, you can hear them, and Mufutao. These are the Oyomesi. Oyomesi guys are like the kingmakers, and you can see that 100% all of them are what? They are Muslims. So Islamization of the Oyo territory, of the Oyo empire, of the Oyo region, their intention is to ensure that they kickstart it from the palace. And the hidden hand. I believe the hidden hand, the Fulani's agenda. You know how they become so close. They have successfully done this in Iwo, in Osun State, whereby they gave them Oba of Iwo, they gave him one of their daughter, Fulani daughter. She is the one instigating him. She's the one, a woman that cooks and of course satisfies you on bed will definitely have a very important influence over your decisions. So she is always probably the one pushing Oba of Iwo to do this. Let us request for Sharia. After all, I am Muslim. You are also Muslim. Our children will be Muslim. Let them be able to grow in a territory that there is law abiding in terms of Allah. So let us push for Sharia. Before you know it, they'll start telling them all these rituals that you do as an Oba in Yoruba land, it is against Allah. All these things, all these rights, it is against Allah. Because Islam does not tolerate religious freedom. Does not. Islam does not tolerate religious freedom. It will come cancel everything about your culture. It has to be the way and the way alone. You cannot say you are doing this and doing that, unless, of course, you do not invite the Fulani's ideology in its all totality. Let me read a memo, a communique this Islamic fundamentalist wrote. Yoruba Muslims, under the aegis of Yoruba Muslims for Freedom, condemned Makinde's Christianization agenda. In a press release made available to newsmen, the spokesman of YMF, which is Yoruba Muslim Freedom, Mr. Latifu, uncovered the agenda of replacing all Muslim Yoruba monarchs with RCCG Pentecostal Christians. The spokesman gave a list of 25 monarchs to show the trend. He said the last 25 Muslims that died on throne were all replaced by RCCG radical Christians. Well, welcome. Good. Muslims have been marginalized in Yoruba land for too long. We can no longer remain silent. These were the conversations Afoja had when he started calling in marauders, when he started seeking the help of Halimi. The Yorubas have never in their life sidelined or marginalized Yoruba Muslims. In fact, in the Yoruba land, there is no religious dichotomy. In Yoruba land, what we have is religious tolerance, religious freedom. In Yoruba land, you see a Yoruba Christian woman getting married to a Yoruba Muslim woman. You will not necessarily see the man forcing the woman to convert to Muslim. It is evident. Look at the likes of Fashola. I mean, it is almost everywhere. My own father is a Muslim. My mother is a Christian. So this idea that they are trying to push will not fly. Will not fly. It will not fly. Yoruba Muslims make up 70% of the population of the Southwest. You can see they have run their own population census. They are now saying Yoruba has been fully Islamized.